Good evening. It's Monday, which means it's time for Enterprise at 8. This is Live Long and Podcast Star Trek Enterprise rewatch series. It's been, I don't know, Trip, how long has it been?
20 years?
About 20 years. That's right. Since we first saw this episode, Damage, that first aired. And I'm Jody Simpson. And with me is my co-host and the man who is fashionably late, Adam Woodward.
Hello, Jody. Feels like weeks since I've seen you. Weeks.
It's been 2. Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks. We don't have that, unfortunately.
No, but we're working on it.
We're working on it. All right. One of these days we'll use AI to get Trip to say all the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, welcome, Adam. And of course, joining Adam and I is Live Long and Podcast awesome producer, Mr. Color Coordination himself, Dave Mater.
That's right. I thought I could do color coordination safely, but it turns out
you got a bit of a weird kind of glazy effect on your video there. Yeah. Why is it it's like delayed or something.
The hat looks pink.
It's like technotronic.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a bit trippy. All right. Someone's gotten into the mushrooms.
I'm not done doing this yet. Hold on.
Yeah, you're done.
Okay, now you're done. We all know it. And of course, who could forget the man who spent all day playing Tears of the Kingdom, like me, Mr. Kevin Woodward. Or not
Woodward.
Kevin Woodward. What am I doing here? Kevin Millard. Did you guys get married? It's legal here, you know.
We got nerd in the end, both of us.
Like me's not. So
Yeah, we're both already married, Jody. We can't.
Yeah, your significant others might have an issue with that. Anyway, tonight's episode is Damages, and apparently my brain is. This is the 70th episode. Can't say 69 anymore, unfortunately. And this episode is about the Enterprise crew must cope with devastating damage to the ship, and another alien ship needs assistance nearby. T'Pol seeks help from Phlox with a personal problem, and dissent grows in the Xindi Council. So, what do we
Find
think
these Xindi.
Find these Xindi. All right, what do we think of this one, guys? This is basically just a continuation of the one before it.
This is great. T'Pol's addicted to love, and Archer is a pirate. Like, it's great.
Yar. Exactly.
I felt that everybody's hit a low here, Jody. Everybody. We got a lot of storylines of hitting lows.
Yeah, there's a lot of dependencies and thievery and various other things. So, yeah.
Arg, me mateys.
Arg. What do you think, Dave?
We should make them walk the plank. Arg.
Where's
I have no
Davan
idea
over
where
here?
these are coming from, but anyway.
these are when Pike was a pirate, or when he was like playing a pirate. All these. I think this episode is pretty well done. I don't think it's just a continuation of last episode. I think it's kind of its own thing, and I'm kind of okay with the fact that we had a little bit of a break here. I know for a lot, I think most of you like went from Azadi Prime and you were like, oh, I need to know what happens next. And you went right into this episode.
Yeah, I watched both.
I had a bit of a lull between them, and I found that this episode is kind of its own story that I kind of appreciated for like certain moments. I feel like the episode is a little boring, but it's like, I think that and good evening to you, Regine.
I don't know.
Christina
Hopefully we're spelling that right, or saying that right. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm not trying to spell it. And so, but like I think that the stuff with T'Pol is good. I think that like her addiction, and I think this is an interesting kind of take on her character. I think in terms of how Archer's dealing with things, this whole moral quandary about whether to steal the warp coil from these aliens, these Illyrians, which is the same species as Una #1 on Strange New Worlds. So there's kind of this connection apparently. And
totally missed that connection.
Well, they just introduced when these aliens are introduced, I think they're not meant to really be anybody yet. So they kind of retconned that into things. But yeah, I think that it's a good one. I think I'm kind of curious really to see where they go. As far as I understand, they never like come back to help these aliens, right? It seems like that would have been maybe a nice thing to.
Guess you'll have to see next
We'll have
episode.
to kind of see what happens next, but I don't think so.
Jaemeel says, "Happy Victoria Day, fine fellows." Thank you, and you as well,
and
Sarah.
to you as well.
Can't be a group of fine fellows without Jaemeel here.
Right.
We're only sub fine, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway, let's get to Star Trek. Sorry, I've derailed this train.
I
Let's
think
come back.
getting distracted by his video again too.
Yeah, he
It's
is.
really cool.
He's here to visually
Purpose,
entertain
right?
people while I, stimulate.
He did that
you
on purpose, though, right?
up here in the in your earbuds. And
Did you
in
guys hear the
podcast
ice cream truck?
Ding, ding, ding.
No.
No.
I
Kevin.
can.
Wow, this is just going totally off the. You know what, Dave? Let's just bring up the screenshots.
You got it, Jody.
Thank
we
you,
can
sir.
we can get screenshots in here, or how we want to go. This is like from the previously on. We saw T'Pol was dealing with things. We saw what Trillium D turns you into a zombie Vulcan. If you get too much of it.
Yeah.
We saw Archer was having a rough day with the Zindi last time.
Just a bit of a rough day.
Enterprise took a bit of a pounding, and was people were dying. At least I think they say 14 are dead and 3 unaccounted for, which are the 3 that get sucked out. In this particular
That we actually
shot.
got to see get sucked
So
out.
17 are dead. T'Pol she'd had better days. She was this was a particularly stressful week.
Definitely needs a sonic shower,
Yeah, and
which isn't
things are going
invented
on.
yet, I guess.
No,
Technically,
this ship doesn't have sonic showers.
no, they just have the normal old school.
Just normal showers, which we see a little bit in this episode. Anyway, so the attack just stops all of a sudden. Like when we leave the previous episode, they're just getting pounded by the Zindi, and then the Zindi it all ends and they just run away, and they leave Enterprise. Enterprise can't even move. The thrusters are down. They're kind of dead in space.
I didn't even notice he was bleeding.
Yeah,
Until you got that screenshot there. Yeah.
there he is. That thing fell on his head. So that's the teaser to come into the episode. Enterprise is now just damaged. We come here over after the credits to the Zindi Council of Doom. Now these primates and these arboreal Zindi, they're like telling off this reptilian Zindi. They're like, you're a dick. You keep going behind our back and doing you're not. This isn't the Zindi way. You got to ask for all of our permissions before you go off and do these rogue things.
Apparently not.
Being the hell out of Archer. We don't like it, and so the conversation goes on for a while. It's actually kind of amazing to me all that they fit into this episode, because there's a lot of different scenes.
Pretty big episode, yeah.
There's
Or at least it feels big anyway.
It feels big. It just feels like, okay, now we're going to catch up with these characters, and then this is going on, this storyline. But there's also kind of this whole, I think, cohesive thing about the damage, and this is kind of a lull in the storm. This is kind of like a, everyone's licking their wounds.
That's what I said. I mean, everybody's at a low point. Even these guys, they are feeling a rift in the council himself. What's going on?
Right, they were all getting along. They were the Zindi after 100 years of civil war. They were like at least unified in this common enemy thing, and now that's all starting to unravel for them. So that seems to be a point of friction. And so ultimately they're like, yeah, well, you're not taking Archer. The aquatics are going to take him, and we're going to give him back to the humans, and we're going to figure out what's going on with the sphere builders and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the end of that conversation. We come back to Enterprise, and
everybody's working, Dave.
Everybody's working for the weekend.
Working for the weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
You took my joke.
Well, we think alike, Jody. It's great minds.
Right. Must be.
Yeah. So we have here it's Reed taking T'Pol through the damage of the ship. We have the credits here. Phyllis Strong wrote the episode. James L. Conway directed the episode.
Yeah, he's done a couple.
Yeah,
I remember the name.
Oh yeah, he's been a bunch of ones. So we get into engineering here, and he tells T'Pol and Reed, our warp engines are completely shot. We don't have the spare parts to rebuild them, so we are dead. We are dead in space. We can't go.
You know what? This scene was pretty cool because they not only did the fact that showing that they're heavily damaged, but man, it's not getting better. Like things are sparking up everywhere. There's fires bursting out. Thank you. I think it showed exactly how badly they were hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, they were on the brink of being destroyed.
I would even say that this is probably one of the most damaged enterprises in all of Star Trek when it comes to like on screen.
I think you're right. I mean,
yeah,
the only comparative would have been the Enterprise under attack by the Reliant.
Yes.
I'd say
Yeah,
like
that one gets its ass kicked.
Voyager, especially during like the Year of Hell, but also during some of the other storylines that they had.
Yeah, Voyager as well. Yeah,
when they would have fights with the Borg, it could get pretty damaged at times. But
I think this is one of the best depictions, though, because you believe it. Like, this ship is fucked.
yeah,
yeah, they are rough. They can't just polarize
they're
the
in
hull.
bad shape. Yeah,
you know, but they're still alive anyway. And then we covered Archer, who's on the Xindi aquatic ship, where he kind of wakes up slowly. You know, he's been beat up, he's damaged. Everybody's in a low point. Everybody's got a different form of damage.
are the stars going the right way though?
Well, they're kind of going up to down. So, no.
He just wakes up and goes, "Where the hell am I now?"
Yeah. And he's like, I'm at Marineland. I'm here at the tags, and I'm gonna look at the fishies.
Let's do a little dig at Marineland. Everybody's alive though, so it's a little different.
Did we get any more of the aquatics?
Shots fired
after this?
Yeah.
A little
they
bit.
still have some more coming up, but I wouldn't say much.
I'm fascinated by aquatic species in space. Like,
it's pretty cool, but it must be
weird.
pretty expensive to do, and show us effectively.
Well, and it's always CG, right? Like they don't have anything, they don't have any practical model or anything like that.
The engineering needed for like a seafaring species to establish warp speed is kind of extra challenging. So they would have to be.
Seems like it would be. Maybe Scotty showed up on their planet and was like, "Here, I know how to make plexiglass."
There be whales.
Yeah. Archer wants some answers. He tries to talk to this.
I love that. I love that though. Like, go back to Archer. I love how he looks like that in the thing because they're using obviously the liquid in front of him and stuff like that. He looks like he's like near death. Like he's done. Yeah. Right. I don't know if that was on purpose, but I just thought it looked cool.
Well, he's supposed to look rough. And then they gas him and he just collapses.
I like how they just keep gassing him. It's like, man.
On Enterprise, T'Pol shows up. She comes onto the bridge. Reed says, "Oh, by the way, a Xindi ship just came out of warp, and they're getting ready to fire at it. But then they say it's only got one life sign, and it looks like a human. So she orders it to be brought in, and that's what they do. This is, it looks like it was meant to go underwater, maybe. But they open it up, and guess who it is? Oh, it's Archer. I would be suspicious. Is this the real Archer? If that came back, because why would this? Like, it's kind of curious that the Xindi just suddenly stopped attacking us and just suddenly gave Archer back to the crew. So
it means there's something more threatening than Archer.
I mean, the captain was pissed before he left. Can you imagine what he'd be like now? Like, terrible to work with.
After he's been roughed up.
He's been roughed up. He's been gassed. And then he gets back to the ship, which you think he'd be happy about. But then he gets the report about how many casualties there have been and how, how many people.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have left your post, Captain. Like,
maybe you discussed that on the last episode.
He probably didn't have to go on this mission, as we mentioned on the last episode.
Probably not.
But he did. And so, they're all in trauma and they're all grieving for the dead background characters. And and then there's this whole part here where I think she gives Archer a towel, like T'Pol gives her in sickbay, and her hand is shaking, and he's like, he grabs it, and she's like, "Are you okay?" You know?
Well, he's noticing, right? So
yeah. And she's like, "Well, I haven't had time to meditate lately, so it's been hard."
They've been attacked badly when those monitor mounts are completely crooked.
Yeah, they can't be straight. So
nobody's bothered to turn them back.
No. So she leaves, and he's kind of like, I don't know, he doesn't have the time to really deal with this properly with Daval, but it's he's noticing it.
Yeah, he's noticing it, but he's got other pressing issues right now.
I like to when you're watching this, you don't yet know what is going on with T'Pol.
Yes.
But it's obvious she is not herself.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And again, and I know I say it almost every damn episode, but Jolene Blakelock is phenomenal. She does a good job.
Yeah.
She's good here. We see her, she leaves sick bay and she's kind of like, she starts freaking out, I guess, is for lack of a better term.
Like she's barely holding it together.
She's seeing things through the weird lens. She's like in that wavy effect, like I am on my camera. You know,
Oh,
like,
I see the tie-in
ooh,
now.
it's the
I get it.
tie-in, yeah,
Oh, I get it. All right.
kind of like that Borg vision. It's kind of what they were going for
Borg vision.
here. You know, she heads into her quarters here. You know, there's people with sparks and everything. It's kind of all slowed down, and the audio is distorted as well. Right, she goes in to her quarters, starts putting water on her face. Come out here, and then the next meeting here on the bridge is with Archer and the senior staff, contemplating, what they're going to do. Then they say, hey, there's an energy surge coming in, and the whole light fixture above them just explodes and comes down on their heads. Like, thanks for the warning. 3 times. This continues. There's a scene here too between Hoshi and Mayweather, who's the 2 characters who probably get the least amount of screen time on the show. And they talk, I think it's Hoshi's. I don't think she's loving her job lately.
No.
She didn't
It's
want to
kinda
be.
crappy.
Like, if you remember in the beginning of the first season, she didn't even want to be there,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and she asked to leave at one point, and he's, "Oh, come on, stay."
He's like, no, we'll put you in quarters where the thing will go a different way.
That's right. We'll give you any quarters you want.
She's already kind of assuming she's not coming back from this mission. She feels like they're going to die out here.
I think that Dave, this is actually probably most of the crew feel that way. I mean, they're in terrible shape.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think it's a really quick scene, but I think it's a pretty effective scene at establishing, what they're going through. So I feel like this episode just has a lot of moments with a lot of different characters, which I appreciate. I think a little bit more than what they normally do, which is a lot of Archer, maybe a couple scenes with T'Pol, and if we're lucky, Phlox will be on the show too. And so, and
You
then,
think with all the casualties, we'd see more of them.
yeah. There's these next scenes here with Trip and Archer and engineering. They're trying to fix something and it's blowing up in their face and they can't get it going here. Nothing's going right for this crew, Then
In
they
this
get the
entire episode, I spend most of my time wondering how much money they had to spend on making it look like it was broken. Because like all the corridors have damage, every single set piece has damage. It's like it makes me think that they spent a good chunk of change there.
Yeah, it's a whole process just to mess it up. They get the distress call here from the Illyrians, and then they're brought in, and the Illyrians are like, "Get out of the way! You're in a weird spatial expanse with weird spatial anomalies." And they're like, "We know."
It's like that's the least of our problems right now.
They're under distress. Can you just hear them? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Have you looked at our ship?
Yeah.
So they end up docking with these guys, and it was interesting that they decide to answer the distress call, even though they're very badly damaged themselves, just to turn around. Eventually, we'll rob them later on in the episode.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. And so we meet Casey Biggs here, who's the from Damar from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, who plays the alien captain.
Oh, okay. I knew he looked familiar.
Yeah, he's
well,
here.
Sounded familiar anyway.
The ex-husband of Roxanne Dawson Biggs, the blonde Torres as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think he did a pretty good job in this episode.
Just taking away all the fun facts there, Adam.
Fun facts with Dave.
Well, I can't help but notice Damar.
That's okay.
It was a noble, if misguided, vision.
That's right. It's one of my only Damar clips. Okay, so he's like, "Hey, how about a warp coil?" And he's like, "Well, I can't give you a warp coil. We'll be stranded. We're 3 years from home." He's like, "Well, I'll make it worth your while." So Archer's like, "Screw you, we're leaving." So it doesn't just this comes off here. We get the scene here in the shower, guys, where T'Pol like hallucinates.
That's Adam's dogs.
She's in the shower, and then these hands are on her back, and all of a sudden, they're making out with she's making out with Trip here.
Well, gotta have something to do.
Yeah. She starts getting aggressive. She throws him against the shower wall. Happy May 2 forward to you, Sam.
You as well.
And then she's a zombie Vulcan.
Oh, they're the worst. Those zombie
I
Vulcans.
love zombie Vulcans.
Rough day for the zombie Vulcans.
She looked a lot like that makeup from The Shining. If you remember that scene in the
Oh
the
yeah,
room.
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, she's a scary zombie Vulcan, that's for sure.
What do you think, Kevin?
What do you mean? What do I think? I love zombie Vulcans. I think it's great.
He's already mentioned it.
All right. Just making sure. She wakes up from this nightmare. They don't do it. They do more. They do dream sequences sometimes in Star Trek. It's more common than flashbacks, I'd say. And so, yeah, she wakes up kind of just perturbed, fetal position in her bunk, in her quarters. She's having a rough time, more so than just the crew is having a rough go at the moment.
Yeah,
You know, like her especially.
she's dealing with 2 different traumas.
She goes to the cargo bay. She needs her fix of this new drug she's addicted herself to, Trillium D, which was sealed off from the crew. She takes it in here. She pulls the rock out. She puts it into the coffee maker. And
This is like a Keurig, like 30 years before a Keurig.
it's like a crack pipe
Well, 20
Keurig
years.
sort of thing. Trillium D. And
Like
she,
grinds it down into a cappuccino thing and
yeah,
good to
injects
go.
it up and
And then it feels better.
feels better. So I don't know. I thought this was pretty like bold for Star Trek to do this. You know, they would like. you
Yeah,
know,
this was definitely different. We've seen stuff like drug use before in Star Trek, mind you.
Usually it's like under like it's forced upon the character. It's not like
Yeah.
this is like more, this is different. This is more like they have their own addiction. That not that, you know, and yes, this comes from the trauma of the original mind meld, I think, and different things. But
Yeah.
But also, I think it shows how far she'll go to, well, number one, protect herself, but also protect the crew from herself. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and she gets in. It's not so bad. Now she's in trouble.
I don't think that in the 90s they would have done this. So I think this is kind of progress that they were allowed to do
Yeah.
this story.
Well, and I think addiction was also starting to take front stage as well. So it's kind of a, you know, the heroin crisis and all that, opioid crisis as well.
Yeah, but the
you know,
war on
2004
drugs
was kind of when that started escalating a bit.
Well,
so-
war on drugs was kind of like, I don't know, like pretty intense, you know, in the later part of the 20th century, right? So this was kind of,
true.
Yeah.
you know, like just
That's
notable.
one thing about this show. They seem to take what the current events kind of were and kind of fold them into Star Trek, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, and I think the Star Trek writers were just getting more freedoms and stuff they couldn't maybe have done before. But
Yeah.
so,
Well, Roddenberry's long out of the way at this point, so you know.
right. So is this where they figure out? I don't know. Like, there's a couple scenes here. They're very quick, where T'Pol talks to Archer in the command center, and then then we have quick here. Phlox goes to talk to Archer in his quarters to drop off Porthos, and Archer's very detached and quiet and not engaged in the scene. And he's like, "Hey, I brought your dog back. You're
And he's like,
welcome."
great.
You know, he's just, you know,
We
Archer's
can't
like,
bring back those 3 people that went through that hole in the hall.
Archer's like, we'll never be able to bring the ship back to what it was. And, you know, I think Phlox kind of, he's like, yeah, we just need to fix it. It's just repairs, you know. But he's like, what about the dead people, Phlox? He's like, well, maybe not so much.
This was a really good scene because he
They're out
didn't
in
actually
space,
say
so
that. He
they're-
didn't say what about the
No.
dead people. He just looked at him and he's like, well, perhaps not.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it's
that's
really
what is
good.
that. That's what the look implied. He's like, what about
Yeah.
you know what I'm.
But again,
is-
I like again that you see the damage of the ship. Like it is like the captain's quarters, which is still beaten. Every place in that
Everything is
ship is
beaten. Yeah.
everything is, you know. And you think about Next Gen when they were in a battle, you never saw it like this.
The
No.
bridge had like some you know,
Black
Panels.
marks here and there.
panels blown
Rocks
out.
would come out of the consoles.
Rocks, yeah, rocks.
I never understood why rocks came out, but the rocks would come out and kill people. So,
They were the deadliest thing in the original series.
but this was the scene here too, where Archer was contemplating. He's going to be a pirate.
Yeah.
He's like,
Archimedes.
what do I do? Yeah.
And he
he's-
asks, yeah, and I love that he asks Phlox here if he's ever done anything unethical, right? And I all I could think is
we're like, yeah, we already know he has.
yeah,
Like
he
many
ordered
times.
you ordered him to do unethical things several times.
Yeah,
remember
you know, like remember when he made that clone and you
just to harvest his
harvested?
brain.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago.
That was like
Yeah, that
3
was
weeks
only
ago.
like
Yeah.
maybe 10 episodes ago. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think he's like in 40 years of. We find out here, that Phlox has been a doctor for 40 years, so he's at least in his 60s, I guess. That he's only been unethical twice. Is that good?
The best line could have been "Not until I met you."
Yeah, that would have been good.
It should have been twice in
Not
40
till I
years.
had to buzz around the universe.
And
with
they're
you
both
guys.
since I met you.
Yeah, they're both since I met you.
That would have been the best.
Both times, your problem.
Yeah. But I like Phlox here too when he asks like, "What can I ask what you're planning on doing?" And he just says, "There might be more casualties." And Phlox is just like, "I'll be ready."
I'll be ready.
And that's it.
Which sets him apart from other doctors, I think. I think McCoy would be like, no, I need to know what you're doing.
Well, and Beverly would be like, "I'll be ready, but this isn't a good idea." Blah blah blah, and then give you a moral speech.
Bashir would never be down with this plan ever.
No, the Doctor has always been the moral compass on Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Like the more human.
Yeah.
Right.
The moral compass. That's
more of an ethically pure character usually.
Yeah.
Not willing, less willing to bend rules, especially with
more concerned with the
except for when you're banging ghosts.
Right. Who's the best doctor on Star Trek? I don't know. Is it Phlox?
That's a good question. We'd have to think about that.
That is a very good question. We should rate all the doctors.
We should do a doctor tier ranking one day.
Yeah. What's his name? Could steal it for his channel. Davan.
No, it's the same channel.
He's already done the first one, so he might as well do another one.
Well, we are going to do more of them. But just what's next? Yeah. Anyway, so the next scene here is where Archer goes to talk to Reed. He's like, "Yeah, get ready. We're getting a boarding party together." He's like, "Boarding party, sir? Who are we boarding?" He was like, "Oh yeah, the aliens we met earlier." He's like, "Sir?" He's like, "You better follow your orders, Reed."
You know when Reed's not on board, you're in some deep shit.
Yeah. Sam makes a good point here, though. The Doctor and Voyager was not a moral compass.
I think he was.
Yeah, sure he was.
I think he was. I think not.
I'm kind of more on Sam's side here. He did a lot of weird stuff.
He refused to do anything with Tuvix.
That's true. Yeah.
He was the only one who had any morals there.
But everybody should have refused to do anything about Tuvix.
They liked him better. I don't know why they would do that. They all liked him better.
Everybody like, "Fuck Neelix."
It was an improvement.
We're opening up the Tuvix wound, guys. You gotta be careful here. But did you hear when Archer snapped on Reed about he was like, we're gonna do what we need to do? Is that understood?
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, he doesn't want any discussion, right?
Yeah.
And if there is discussion, they probably won't do it.
Yeah. Scene here too with the sphere builder lady, who's talking to some of the Xindi Council who are present, just the primates in the arboreal, who are they're unraveling everything they learned in the last.
The one
episode.
thing I never noticed, if you go back to her for a second, it's very strange how Borg-like her outfit is.
Yeah. It's
She looks like a changeling.
It almost looks like it's those
she's like a chambering Borg hybrid.
Yeah, she reminds me her attitude, not just the makeup, but reminds me of the female changeling.
Yeah.
In Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
So and also I like in this scene how pissed off she is. Like, don't call me unless everybody's together.
Yeah. I won't play your games. Yeah.
Right. But fair enough. But she's the big bad, really, of the season.
Yes.
The one who's manipulating the Xindi into attacking.
She's manipulating everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. She's they have the time travel technology, and we're given the impression that they've helped the Xindi with a bunch of stuff. What exactly is not explicitly explained, but it doesn't seem to really matter. Anyway, she's like, "Yeah, don't call me again unless you're all together. See you later." And then you see here.
I liked how they dropped that in this episode, though, because we don't really see a lot of the sphere builders until later on in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're getting close to the end of the season, actually.
Yeah, but doesn't this really confirm their involvement, though? This is
the moment where we now know. Yeah.
Well, he's like, "Hey, Dagger, what do you think about that?" He was like, "You don't believe her?" He's like, "No, do you?" You just
what are you on?
Yeah. So this is the Xindi are fracturing, at least,
Yeah.
And I guess that's a good thing, at least in the short term. Here we got this is where Archer's like coming up with his plan on how he's going to attack the other ship, the Illyrians, to steal their warp coil. After the briefing, there's a scene here where T'Pol comes in to say, we can't do this. It's unethical. We're like the raiders that attacked us when we came into the Expanse in the first place. Remember that? He's like, we're not the same. She's like, she kind of loses it on here. She smashes the pad, and he's like, okay,
she yells, I won't let you do it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I won't let you do it.
Probably the coolest scene in this episode.
Yeah, and his reaction is very interesting. It's very calm and measured. He's kind of coming
very
off that
stoic. Yeah,
he already knows she's not completely well, coming out of that sickbay scene.
But he's not well either. Like
No.
he's clearly not mentally well.
No, but they don't. All this ship has is them. Really, they're the leaders, so they gotta come together here.
They gotta step up. Yeah,
they gotta figure it out, despite all the other trauma that they're having to deal with, because they don't have the luxury of taking the day off. Although she says, I haven't had time to meditate, I haven't had time to put things. He's like, maybe you should make the time for that. That's kind of important.
Yeah.
And credit to Archer here is like, he just went through a hell of a beating. He left the ship to blow himself up.
Mm-hmm.
He had a whole plan that didn't work out. Then he was abused badly, and here he is back and trying to put it together. I mean, he thought he'd left the ship for good.
Yeah. Well, he thought she would. Well, and I think he's also now understanding the reality of not putting her in charge when he leaves, right? Like he's like, oh shit, she's not well either. So now I have to step back up again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she goes to sick bay. Flux is just like, I'll be with you in a sec, and she's like, no, I need you. She grabs his arm and looks at him. And then he starts examining her. He's like, yeah, you got a lot of Trillium D in your system, like way more than you should. What the hell is going on? And she explains that, well, I thought I could take some of it, this toxic substance, safely.
I thought he did a great job. Like, as he's realizing what she's done.
Yeah.
And like, he's going, this is really dangerous. And you would put yourself and the crew in a bad position.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't seem like something she would do.
And he's the only one that mentions Tucker when she's like, oh, I wanted to explore these emotions. And he's like, for Commander Tucker.
Yes. Oh, good old Trip. Got it made.
Yeah. And then she's like, okay, well, I've been called. She gets called to the bridge and she has to go back on duty. And he's like, well, I think you should stay here and, get treatment. She's like, I can't. He's like, well, when you're done, you better get right back here and go into treatment, basically. So,
but now he's in a quandary, right? Because now he knows that she's, affected. And what do you do? Like, as a doctor now, do you rat her out and say, hey, she's in trouble, or clearly he just let her go?
Well, I think he's
got a code, right? So I guess the question is, when does he defy that code, right?
If he's like, there's absolutely no way she can go on, then I'm sure he would stop her. I think she can go on, but it's not ideal, So
yeah.
Well, I guess he's expecting her to come back and get treated. So
right.
Well, he gave her a hypo spray. That'll tide her over until
those hypo sprays.
Band-Aids.
I'd like to have one of those hypo sprays from time to time, Kevin.
I'd love one for my knees.
Sam's asking, do we think there will be an Enterprise documentary? Because I guess they announced a Voyager one. I didn't even know that.
I don't even know why we need a Voyager one, let alone an Enterprise one.
We have a lot of Star Trek going on right now. Not sure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it. I guess so. But it's
I guess so. No, it was a real definitive yes, Dave.
I am definitely not that.
I'll watch it. Does that count? Does that make me excited?
You don't sound excited.
I guess that's not excitement. That's just like acknowledgement. I acknowledge that they're making it.
He acknowledges that they are making it and they will release it. Yeah.
For you, Dave, I think it's become an obligation.
Yeah, it's more of an obligation for Dave.
Yeah. So
the rest of us are like, documentary, fuck that. Whereas Dave's like, gotta watch it, gotta rate it.
Of course, I'll watch it and rate it.
I'll watch it too, but I'm like, excitement. I wasn't even excited about the show.
True. I was and I wasn't. I liked Voyager more than a lot of other people.
I love some components of Voyager, but there's just so much bad in it. I don't know.
I still think it's better than this show.
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
But that's just a hot take. Anyway, back to Enterprise. Definitely a great show.
Enterprise.
You want to hear us talk about and break down. So this is where Enterprise makes their attack on the Illyrians. They're Casey Biggs talking to his guy here, and then they get the announcement, hey, there's a ship approaching, it's the Earth ship. He's like, well, hail them. And they're like, they're not answering. Normally they're the Starfleet people, like how we always see like Starfleet getting attacked by people. They're like, now it's the Starfleet people being the attackers. We get to see it from their perspective. We're the bad guys now, or we're the bad guys today. They beam in here. The DS9 documentary was great.
I think that Archer's learned. And again, he's leading the crew. He's leading the like. It just kills me. This guy. He's got to be in the middle of everything. Anyway, they've learned a lot. They've been assaulted and they've been boarded a lot, so they probably learned a few tricks.
They haven't. They're standing here. So there's a fight between the ships, and there's a fight inside the ship going on at the same time throughout this whole sequence. Lots of phasers. They throw the stun grenade. We see these Makos are in the mix. It's always different Makos.
Can't have all the Makos.
Yeah. It's a
They
ship
sign,
of 80 people.
they sign them out. It's like a library system. You only
They
get a couple
sign
at a time.
It's a ship of 80 people, and 14 of them just died. So we should start to really be able to keep track of.
Well, that's one thing you do see actually in this series is as it progresses and as they take more damage, you actually see more Makos. So it's almost like that was intentional.
It's like you see more than 80 people on this ship. Is kind of what I'm saying. But anyway,
I'm just glad we're starting to see the Makos being used more. They're not just
The Makos were very underutilized in especially in this season.
Well, they just showed up
the
this
season that they were there for.
Yeah.
They
Well,
were explicitly brought in for
they're in next season too. So
Yeah.
and they're definitely
sure.
more prominent next season. So.
we see here that Trip inside the ship is trying to get the warp coil out, and there's a force field. He can't get near it, and so that's all going on. There was a whole argument too before here with T'Pol and Reed, where he wants to fire back at them, but she doesn't want to. Even she's like, it's bad enough we're stealing their warp coil, and we don't want to leave them defenseless or even more damaged.
Yeah.
So they're trying to be good bad guys. Is good
Good old Reed though. Reed's like, I want to fire some shit.
So the big question is, does the ends justify the means?
Yeah.
Right. Maybe
Well, I think that's what you're supposed to.
is saving all of Earth worth this?
Right.
Maybe
Is saving all of Earth worth stranding? Stranding a alien race for a while. Probably.
So this scene, this battle is taking longer than it should because they're holding back, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have just beamed it out and blown them up. So they're trying,
This is a really, really interesting question. Yes, we want to take your stuff, but we're not ready to go the full distance and leave you completely stranded.
Yeah, we're ready to
dead.
steal you.
Or dead.
Steal crap for you, but we're not
Or
ready
dead.
to kill you. Yeah.
What if the only way was to destroy this ship? Would they do it?
Yes.
But
Arthur would do it.
I think,
yeah.
Kevin, that's a great question. I think that they are doing that.
I do too.
They don't want to do the end shot. You know what I mean? Like they're leaving them. They have to be 3 years away from home.
The intention is that they would.
What if this was a ship full of kids?
Like Red Squad?
No, like real kids, like little kids. I think that there's no way that I think that they went out of their way to make sure this was like kind of, I don't think they say it's a military ship, but you don't feel like there's families on this ship at all when you meet these aliens.
No, you don't. But I mean, I think it's bad. And I think here's Archer is that we're going to take away, they've got 3 years. We're going to leave them trellium, or we're going to leave whatever the hell with them. They said something, food. They're going to leave them water, but it's a death sentence. Regardless, it's you're taking.
Well, they could easily die in 3 years in that expanse. It's super dangerous.
Like they've been in the expanse for how long? The Archer and them, 9 months,
about 8-9 months at this point.
Yeah, and they've almost been destroyed like 200 times.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing that I find here is that they're not even saying, follow this, heading, and we'll come get you, or at some point
we'll circle back and we'll help repair your engines or something.
Yeah.
That seems
they don't even drop a beacon or anything. They're just like, yep.
Well, that's what I found.
Kids say, we're not stealing it, we're borrowing it.
We're borrowing it. Like, I mean, there was
Well,
something.
we also have to remember they're pressed for time at this point. they're in bad shape.
But once they save the day, they can come back.
Yeah, but there was never a mention of that, Dave. There was nothing.
There was no mention. No.
Right. And I feel like that's kind of, I don't know, because they're supposed to be Starfleet. They're supposed to be the good guys, right?
Exactly. And they're absolutely not acting like that here.
This is the start of Starfleet. So let's be honest here. They're not, they're not running the whole game.
I'm not judging him. I'm just saying they're issuing a death sentence, but they're not pulling the trigger. They're not going that far.
Yeah.
Right. And there's this whole kind of final encounter here between Archer and the Illyrian captain, played by Casey Biggs, where he's like, "How are you leaving us stranded? Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "I have no choice." And he just like beaming me out. Like, see you never.
See you never.
Yeah. And I'm out.
You have fun,
We'd circle back and help, but you're probably gonna die. So
yeah, you'll be dead before we get back anyway. Sorry about that.
Takes off, and then we got a scene here afterwards.
Can I interest you in a Mayweather?
Can we have a scene here afterwards between T'Pol in her sexy pajamas and Phlox in the quarters, talking about her addiction and trying to get over it, and how how
but
dumb
I like
she's
the
been,
setup
really.
here because the one thing that these two have interacted in the past a couple times, but I like how he's almost like her AA helper during all this, right? And actually this is something that kind of keeps going for a little while. So we do see a lot of interaction between Phlox and her, which I think is pretty cool how they've set that up. So I like it.
Well, she says, "I don't know why I called you here," and he says, "Perhaps it's just because you needed company."
Yeah.
And she actually says, "Well, maybe."
You just need a friend right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is,
but this is really developing the relationship between the two of them.
Yeah.
They have quite a friendship in the 4th season. So
plus he's she is his patient and he's trying to treat her too, right? So but stay, because this is also this confidential thing. He's the only one who knows that she's addicted. That's right. To this stuff, right? So he's the only one she can talk to, and she needs to talk about it too, right?
Exactly.
See next here in engineering with Trip and Archer. He's installed a new warp coil. Get up to warp point 3, and he tells Archer here, you did the right thing. You did what you had to do, and Archer's not so happy with who he's becoming and what these decisions he's making, along the way, right?
Well, I mean, Archer, you think back to that first season, first couple episodes, and he was so idealistic about we're going to show what the universe, what Earth is, and who they are, and he is not the same guy.
Yeah.
No, not at all. There is no hopefulness to him at all.
No,
anymore.
he's learned the grim reality of what space travel with.
He's gone from let's go out here and make friends to a fucking pirate.
Everybody is trying to kill me all the time.
He's a pirate now. And he kind of tells Trip as much. He's like, this is no good. I'm gonna have to deal with all this later. Trip's like, okay, man. Well, they get going. They go to warp 3, and the episode moves on. So where are they going? Like, where are they headed?
They're going to the Red Planet, aren't they?
They're going to meet Dagra.
Okay,
it's going to take 3 days.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Okay, so to be continued, sort of more, and
yeah, yes and no. It's one of those things that kind of, yes, it is an extension to it. Wow.
Hopefully they don't have to stop for another human colony on the way to meet Dagra.
There we go.
Yeah, no cowboy missions.
Yeah, I think they only did one cowboy episode in this series. So
we have any fun facts?
I have some fun facts, but I just want to read
facts with Adam. There you go.
Thank you. On Jammer's reviews, though, what he says here is what damage boils down to is about making hard choices in the interests of the immediate needs, and one hopes owning up to the consequences later. Not since Sisko was sitting in the captain's chair has such troubling action on Trek been made so vividly depicted.
Well, it's not like Archer killed an entire population.
Hold on, we have the obligatory soundbite.
Commander, I said launch torpedoes.
Right. So
yeah, I don't have a problem with captains making dubious decisions. I think it's interesting to talk about.
I think
listen,
Archer
but
has to do
Sisko
it.
didn't. You knew what he was doing. I mean, Archer
Oh,
just didn't
yes.
go that far.
Well,
Archer-
Cisco didn't kill anybody. They moved them to different planets.
Yeah, he just destroyed their homes. And
It
made
was
them-
just forced relocation.
forced relocation, but it was
It's fine.
it was mostly a victimless crime.
He might have built a couple casinos too. I don't know.
Because the Cardassians poisoned their planet, so he poisoned theirs, and it was
Fair. Okay,
But
any,
tomatoes will grow on both planets. It's
Yeah,
fine.
do you know how hard it is to grow tomatoes?
but
I've never had.
Sorry,
a
we're
problem
throwing you
with
off,
it.
Adam. I'm sorry.
you are in a bit. You're not. I feel like the idealism that I believe that I hold Star Trek to is just demolished in this episode. I get that he's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Like there is nowhere to go. It's do this or die. So he's had to make a hard choice, but it's certainly not what I think when we see this happen in Star Trek, it's just a little bit shocking, for me
These
anyway.
episodes are Star Trek telling you that there is no ideal.
That's right. Which is
That-
something that in Roddenberry's world we would never.
Well, there
have.
was some of that. You're right. Roddenberry would never have stood for this, and I think it
No.
could only be
This
done
episode
after.
would have never even hit past writing it.
But there's there's a scene I think it comes up. We haven't got to in Deep Space Nine, but it's gonna come up in season 7 where Quark says, "Yeah, humans are super nice as long as their bellies are full and their beds are comfy, but they can be
Yes.
pretty vicious
I
when they're
remember that.
going through rough times." And I think that's kind of what this episode's showing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it shows what the history. What Star Trek always talks about our history. We're being such a brutal race, and we've evolved. We've gone beyond that, and no, we haven't. When your back's up against the wall,
Yeah.
we're gonna go.
Well,
we're
and
gonna
I
go
think
back.
that's the same thing with every ethnicity and every obviously every race in the scenario.
Yeah.
So with that, I think it's perfectly portrayed. I think this is what it should be.
It's a good episode. It's just a little different than what we would be used to in a normal Star Trek world, because this could have gone in different ways with Enterprise. This could have been the idealistic, exploratory mission, and you're keeping against new races and everything's fine, but it isn't that way. And actually, even even Star Trek original series wasn't that way.
Right. Well, I also think about that this time when O'Brien was like, when I grew up, they told me humanity had evolved.
When we were growing up, they used to tell us humanity had evolved, that mankind had outgrown hate and rage. But when it came down to it, when I had the chance to show that no matter what anyone did to me, I was still an evolved human being, I failed. I repaid kindness with blood. I was no better than an animal.
That's one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek.
O'Brien was really used for that a lot, and
You must suffer.
Even that Next Gen episode where he had to talk to his didn't we talk about that recently? His captain down.
Oh yeah,
the Cardassians.
The minstrel boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do not play that.
Please don't play it.
Oh, now I always have to.
All right, let's get moving here.
Okay.
Okay.
Little boy to the war has gone.
All right, got it. All right, Adam. Keep
He
going.
was so pleased with himself. It's amazing.
I've
Sorry,
heard
it's
minstrel
a
boy.
regress. That was-
I'm just surprised he stopped it when I said cut it.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
I knew I was, but I was gonna push my luck. So
All right, fair enough.
Continue.
Okay, guys, this episode contains the first mention of stardates in the series. The stardate is communicating to Enterprise by Degra. I didn't catch that.
I missed that too.
The actions of the crew are reflected back to their own encounter with piracy and Enterprise anomaly in 2003. Davey called it. The Illyrian captain is played by Casey Biggs, who played Damar on Deep Space Nine, who was also married to what's her name?
Lana Torres.
Roxanne Dawson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Dave already ruined that one.
It's okay. We're all good.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
The scene between Archer and Phlox at about 30-minute mark is steeped in symbolism. The scene starts off with Archer and Phlox lit in a lit space. As Archer explains that he's stepping over a line, he is literally and figuratively heading into a dark area as the lighting disappears and the two talk in the shadows.
Yeah, no, I love the way that scene is shot, lit. It's kind of awkward in some ways, but it really it is good.
I think it's intentionally awkward though. I think it's supposed to be awkward.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's a great scene.
Yeah. Uncomfortable.
Direction's actually really good on this one.
You're supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yes, I agree. I know. Yeah.
The Illyrian ship appears to be a modified dorsal section of a Romulan Diderdix class warbird from Next Gen in 1987. The details on top and the line of the red lit shapes that run down this towards the stern are also present on the Romulan ship, except the red lit shapes are not lit.
I did not notice that. So
yeah. This is interesting. Casey Biggs is a member of the Enterprise Blues Band, which writes and performs songs about Star Trek.
I actually know about them.
Pardon?
I actually know about them.
I never knew this existed until tonight.
Yeah.
If you see like that Deep Space Nine documentary, like they like to sing songs together, and they got like a lot of them who are involved in that.
Yep, the other members are Vaughn Armstrong, Richard Hurd, Steve Rankin, William Jones, and Ronald B. Moore. Biggs played the rhythm guitar and sings some of the backup vocals.
Oh, neat.
And I'll wrap it up here. Among the items from this, we'll come back to this one. Scott McDonald appeared in all Star Trek spin-offs. Who is Scott McDonald?
Scott McDonald's the guy who plays the Xindi Reptilian Gollum.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I think we already covered this in a past fun facts. But yes, just to remind everybody, he's gone in all Star Trek television spin-offs. His most frequent Star Trek role has been that of the Xindi Reptilian Commander Dahlem in the 3rd season of Enterprise. He was
he's up there with Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah,
when it comes to been in a lot of it. Jeffrey Combs has way more episodes, mind you, but.
And then finally, as a result of the Xindi attack, 14 members of the crew are dead and 3 are unaccounted for, probably the ones flying into space in the previous episode.
Yeah.
They might account for them later if they look hard enough, but probably not.
And that wraps that up. So we're moving into, what's the next one called?
The next one is called The Forgotten. 2 members of the Xindi Council offer to stop the launch of the weapon if Archer can prove that the Xindi have been manipulated.
So we have like alliances now being formed. This is great.
Yeah. The crew holds a memorial for their dead shipmates as well.
Oh, that's good. Nice of them. Let's get into our ratings, guys, and see what we want to give this episode. Jody, you want to start us off? Damage.
I'm going to do another 9. I think this is just as good as the previous episode. I think it's, on par with it. So I'm going to give it a
9. I'm going 9 as well. And the reason being, as much as I sound like I don't like the episode, I actually do like the episode when it goes away and does something un-Star Trek-like. So I thought they did a great job. The lighting was great. This acting was very good. And Archer has completely turned. I don't hate him anymore because he's not the pain in the ass idealistic guy I didn't like in the beginning.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is good. I think 9 is a worthy rating for this episode. I think it holds up pretty well. Kevin?
Oh, another 10. I fucking love it.
Okay, and so we're averaging tonight.
It's high. Wow.
Sam in the comments says 9.5.
Oh.
I'm giving it a 9.5. What is this? An IMDb? I'm just checking now. It has an 8.1. It actually,
wow.
It has a lower rating than like Azadi Prime, for instance. Although we're saying it's better than Azadi Prime, the previous episode. So,
well, according to us, anyway.
According to us, mostly because
that's mostly Adam's fault.
Mostly Adam bringing down Azadi Prime with his 8. So,
thanks, Adam.
What did I give it? A 9?
You gave it an 8.
8.
Why did I do that?
So you liked this one more.
Know.
I did like this one more.
Well, then it's perfect.
Then it makes sense.
That makes complete sense. So a couple of good episodes.
I like aftermath episodes. I think it was
right.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Because you can see here, like this. If you look at just like how this season's been going, it's mostly been rough. Like it's like we have a good episode, that it's pretty good, that it's kind of rough for a while, that a couple good ones, that it gets kind of crap. There's kind of,
to the point though, that's a little bit skewed because Davan's in there.
Right.
If you take Davan's numbers out, then it would actually be normal.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think
Davan's very straight edge.
Davan's averaging a 5.5 for this season. So you gotta. He tells us it's his favorite season of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So you have to
of all Star Trek.
Well, the way he talks about it.
No, of just Enterprise.
Okay.
No, I don't think anything will be Deep Space Nine for Davan.
No.
Okay, well, guys, that's that. You already mentioned the next episode.
Forgotten. Yeah.
The Forgotten. What is he's asking, what's the lowest rated episode of this season? The lowest rated episode.
Bring it back up.
Bring it back up. Is it
gotta
the
be one
I'm
of the
gonna go
first
with
two.
probably
North Star? The
yeah.
the cowboy episode.
That was a terrible episode.
Oh,
But Extinction is really close to it at a 4.
Extension's pretty crappy too.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3. If I gave it a 3, it's really bad.
Yeah, Davan gave it a 2.
That might actually be the lowest rating I gave anything on this season. Yeah, it is.
Highest rated. This might be our highest rated of the season so far. Actually, this is 9.3 tonight. So
Yeah.
this
It's like
Damage was our favorite one so far. So okay, looking forward to the next one, guys.
But there's so many other favorites, Dave.
So many favorites. So many
Favorites
great
from
things.
different series.
Different shows. That's a great
Different
segue,
shows
Jody.
even. Thank you.
You know,
Thank
like
you.
we do all kinds of different Star Trek episode reviews, not just
trying
Star
to
Trek
tie this up so I
Enterprise.
can get back to Zelda.
Oh, I know. So like we have an ongoing series, much like this one, where we've been doing Star Trek Deep Space Nine for over 3 years now. We're just about to wrap up season 6. On Thursday, we'll be talking about Tears of the Prophets, of the season 6 finale, the death of Jadzir Dax. Spoilers, I guess, 25 years later.
Yes, or I like to call it the death of the series.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about it. Davan says he has a hot take for it. I've been afraid to ask. So
I would
yeah,
be very afraid to ask.
let's do it live.
yeah,
Yeah. Don't get a pre on that one. I want to see your reaction. That'll be the best part.
yeah. So we're going to be talking about that one. We of course talked about other shows in the past, like Star Trek: The Original Series. I did that with Adam and Jody, and sometimes Kevin was there too. And we talked about that in the past. We did the movies. We have got the various shows that we go back and look at, but also Star Trek new ones like Star Trek Picard, and coming soon, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. All of those new episodes. Those are going to be coming in June, guys. I'm excited for this new season.
Me too.
We'll see more Illyrians, maybe, much like this episode.
3 weeks. 3 weeks away.
As long as they don't give me huge arcs that take 3 episodes, I'm happy. You know, keep it the way they did the first season.
I would be very surprised if they did that. You know, I think they got a lot of credibility and
Yeah, it was fantastic the way they did it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And so all kinds of great Star Trek podcasts, whether it be Locutors of Trek, or it be our Star Trek Radio Theaters, or our Star Trek Science divisions, they're doing debates and trivias and all kinds of fun activities. Check those things out. We're part of a united federation of podcasts, if you didn't know. A whole bunch of great podcasters doing a whole bunch of interconnected shows on different topics. Something for you, I'm sure. My son Eamon, he's got Eamon On Track, his music podcast where he reviews music albums. There's Hold Up, a movie podcast with Davan and Murphy every second Wednesday, talking about 3 movies in a different theme. There's the Graphic Histories podcast with Andre Mayette, where he interviews people from the world of entertainment, comic books and movies and television. X-Rated, a review show about X-Men, the animated series, a cartoon from the 90s with Andre and Davan on Tuesdays. The Hellbound podcast, a horror-based podcast that features Alex Blackburn from the Hellbound Horror Festival in Great Britain, as well as Michael Chan from YTV's Popularity Papers. There's the Super Mater Brothers podcast, which
They're brothers.
We are brothers.
We are brothers!
If you didn't know, we recently wrapped up our coverage of Big Brother Canada 11, which was won by Ty. And we've got one more episode to do of Survivor season 44 over on that channel. The finale is Wednesday. We'll probably be on very late to do that. We're down to the final 5 or 6 there. The Mary Mater Marvel Society, where we review things from the MCU. Most recently, we did Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but we did Ant-Man and the Wasp, and anything that's coming out, some trailers, different reactions over there. And lastly, Trivial Debates, where we argue about movies, TV, sports, and more. Like we talked about wrestling, or we had a Mother's Day episode recently that Kevin hosted, but it was supposed to be Chris Seymour. Long story. So anyway, check
Who
out
could have saw that coming?
Yeah, I should have.
Not me.
Yeah, so all those great things over within our podcast, whether it be Live Long and Podcast or the United Federation of Podcasts.
Indeed.
Yeah. Claudia for Big Brother Canada All-Star. Like, I don't like maybe like she didn't take Ty to that Little Mermaid premiere, Sam. So I don't she might be single. Maybe her and Ty aren't gonna be a thing. Who's to say? Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
I lost you guys there. I see the eyes are glazing over as I'm referencing Big Brother Canada things. So anyway, we'll go out on a quote here, guys. Happy Victoria Day, and we'll see you next time for what was it called? The Forgotten. All right.
Once you rationalize the first misstep, it's easy to fall into a pattern of behavior.
I'm not rationalizing anything. I know full well what I'm doing.
I can't justify this course of action.
We don't have a choice.
I won't let you do it!
See you next time.